We are closing out the year of our New Testament reading in the book of Revelation. And we said some things in last week's video about how to read, how to approach the book of Revelation. And so let's talk now about some of the specific things that we're going to read in the first 7 chapters. And remember that chapter 1 laid out that this is a message from Jesus through the Apostle John to the 7 churches in Rome and Asia. And all of the book should be read that way, of course. But in chapters 2 and 3, we have specific messages from Jesus addressing each of those churches and really how they're doing. And there's a pattern to each of those in which Jesus works through, I know your situation, whether their situation is good or whether it's bad, whether they are experiencing great difficulty, or whether they're experiencing maybe comfort that is leading them to be complacent. Jesus knows the situation of each of these churches, and he has a certain charge against many of them. There are a few in which he simply praises them for their faithfulness, for their holding on, the fact that they're facing persecution and they are enduring that. But Jesus has a message of rebuke for many of them, and they're compromising with worldliness, or they're tolerating of sin, or they're giving in to false teaching of some sort. And then each of these messages has an I will, a promise for those who will be faithful. And these particular messages in many ways encapsulate the message of the book, which is one Jesus is saying, I know the difficulty that you are facing. I am charging you to resist compromise with the world, and there is a promise for all those who hold out and are faithful unto death. Okay, then in chapters 4 and 5, we have this vision of the throne scene in heaven, very similar to maybe what Isaiah saw, to what Ezekiel saw in the Old Testament. The glory of God, and God has a scroll which represents this knowledge, his plans, his purposes that no one can open, because who can know the mind of God? And there is sadness over the fact that no one can open that scroll until John hears that there is one. The Lion of the tribe of Judah can open the scroll. And so he turns, and instead of seeing a lion, he sees a lamb as if slain. Of course, an image of Jesus the Christ, who sacrificed himself. But because of his sacrifice, he is worthy to open the scroll. And he then is praised by all of these heavenly creatures. But then the next couple chapters describe the breaking of the 7 seals of that scroll, and it is a revealing of the plans and purposes of God for what will happen on the earth. And there is terror, and the first 4 scrolls describe the awful nature of life on earth as evil is still allowed to have reign on the earth. And the 5th seal is broken, and the martyrs in heaven cry out, how long, oh Lord, will you let this go on? And God says, a little while longer, until the rest of the suffering is complete for the people of God. God's people are going to suffer while evil and is in conflict against good on the earth. And the 6th seal is broken, and God's wrath is being made known against the nations of the earth, and they are in terror, trying to hide themselves. And so the picture again of God's wrath being opened up on the earth. But there is a pause. In chapter 7, there is an interlude in which, in the midst of all of this terror, God is going to protect those who belong to him. And so there is a roll call of the 144,000, not a literal number, of course, but a picture of a new Israel, 12,000 from each tribe that will belong to God. And when John sees this multitude, it is from every tribe, every nation, every tongue, those who, the text said, have washed their robes in the blood of the Lamb. They have come through the great tribulation. So you go back to chapter 5, this Lamb that was slain then becomes the leader of this great army that conquers, not through military might, but through first his sacrifice, laying down his life for the sins of the world, but then all those who have followed the Lamb wherever he goes, to submit and to be like him and to be washed in his blood and to take on his essence and to suffer in the face of evil with the same courage and faithfulness that he did. Okay, that's some of the first 7 chapters in Revelation. We'll pick up there next week. Thank you so much for watching.